All right, so today we're pulling back the curtain on a really important government department in Goa, the Town and Country Planning Department. Ever wondered who gets to decide where a new resort goes or how a beautiful old neighborhood stays preserved? Well, these are the people with the blueprint for Goa's future. Let's get into it. So this department has actually been around since 1962, right after Goa's liberation. And from day one, its whole purpose has been to manage development across the state. To make sure that as Goa grows, it doesn't lose that unique character we all love. It's all about striking that balance. So look, if you've ever thought about building a house here or maybe expanding your family business, this is the department you're going to get to know very well. They're pretty much the gatekeepers for any kind of development, and understanding how they operate is honestly the first and most important step. Okay, so if they're the gatekeepers, what exactly are they guarding? What's the big idea behind all their rules and regulations? Let's take a look at the philosophy that really drives everything they do. This slide really nails it. On one side, you've got the vision, right? The big dream, a planned, sustainable, healthy Goa. Beautiful. Then on the other side, you have the mission, and that's the hard part. That's the day-to-day work of making sure all land is used properly, all within the law. It's a constant balancing act between the dream and reality. And that mission isn't just a nice idea they wrote down. Oh no, it is backed by some serious legal muscle. So now let's peek inside the rulebook that gives them all their authority. You can see they're juggling a lot here. They create the huge master document called the Regional Plan. Think of it as the development roadmap for the entire state. They also write the specific rules for any new buildings, they guide other development agencies, and this is so crucial for Goa, they help protect the state's amazing heritage sites. And you can see how that power was built up over the years. It all started with that big foundational Town and Country Planning Act back in '74. But then, more recently, you see these other laws pop up to deal with really specific things like land development, infrastructure taxes, and detailed building rules. Each law adds another layer of control. So who are the actual people making these huge decisions? I know a big government department can seem like this faceless, intimidating thing, but it's actually broken down pretty logically. Let's meet the key players. So at the top, you've got 3 chief town planners, and each one has their own domain. First up is administration. You can think of this person as running the engine room of the department. They handle the money, the internal rules, and they oversee that infrastructure tax we just talked about. Next, you've got the chief town planner for planning. Now, this is the person most people are likely to deal with. They're in the nitty-gritty of development plans. They're the ones issuing what's called a technical clearance for buildings, and they're the secretary for the main TCP board. And rounding out the trio is the chief town planner for land use. This role deals with some of the most sensitive environmental stuff. They're the one you go to for a permit to cut a slope or fill in a low-lying area. Huge issues in Goa. They also handle really specialized things like permissions for storing petroleum. Okay, we've covered the why, the what, and the who. Now let's get to the most practical part. How can you, as a citizen, actually use their services? Let's think of this section as your own personal development toolkit. This is probably the #1 question they get. You've got your plan, you've got your land. What's next? Well, the official term you need to know is technical clearance. So a technical clearance is basically the department giving your plans the big green light. It's them saying, yep, this follows all the rules. You'll apply for it at your local Toluca office, and the goal is to get you a decision within 30 days. But hold on, what if you're not even at the planning stage yet? What if you just want to know what's even possible with your land? What does the big master plan say your property can be used for? For that, you need something called a zoning certificate. And this document is absolutely vital. It officially tells you if your land is meant for a house, a shop, a farm, or something else. It makes sure your dream home doesn't end up next to a future factory. You'll need your official land records, like your survey plan in Form I and 14, and it's a pretty quick process, usually just 10 days. Okay, let's break down a bit of government speak. You might hear people talking about permission under Section 17A. This is a really, really important one in Goa. Because of the state's unique landscape, you absolutely need this specific permit before you can cut into a hill or fill any low-lying land. It's a critical environmental safeguard. All right, let's talk money. Every project has a budget, right? So what's it actually going to cost to get all these permissions? Let's dig into the fees and taxes. Let's start with the basics. Just to get your application in the system for a pretty standard single-family home, the initial processing fee is just 200 rupees. Now, obviously, that fee goes up depending on how big and complex your project is, but it's a very affordable starting point to get the ball rolling. And then you have the infrastructure tax. This is a one-time payment that helps fund all the public services your new building will need. And as you can see, for major towns, the rate changes a lot. It's 200 rupees per square meter for a house, but it quadruples to 800 for a commercial building. So the big takeaway here is that what you build has a huge impact on the tax you pay. Look, we all know that dealing with any government office can be a bit tricky, but the department's own Citizens Charter actually gives some fantastic practical tips to make the whole thing go a lot smoother. Here are 4 pro tips for a pain-free process. 1. Only submit your paperwork at the official reception counter. 2. They have specific hours for inquiries, so stick to them. 3. Make sure you're at the right office, your local Taluka office. And 4, and I can't stress this enough, always get an acknowledged copy of your submission. That's your proof. So what happens if things aren't going right? Well, this is just great to see. The charter makes it clear there's a formal process. You can go to a grievance officer. And it even says the public is free to contact the chief town planner directly. That kind of access is really empowering. So there you have it. From the big grand vision for a sustainable Goa, all the way down to the practical step of getting a receipt for your application. That's the Town and Country Planning Department in a nutshell. It's not just about rules and money, it's about how we all agree to shape a place as special as Goa. Which kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. How will this kind of thoughtful planning keep shaping the future of Goa for everyone?